What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the new office slash studio slash whatever. I'll take you on a little tour. I moved into a house with roommates. Living alone was a noble experiment, but I like living with people a lot more. This is my room. I have not really worked on unpacking that. Welcome to my new house. I'm excited about it. I'm gonna cook dinner while I'm doing this video because I need to stop getting fast food every meal and get settled into this new house. And while we're doing it, I thought something fun and easy and random to do would just be talk about some of my favorite non-country music. What's the music I like to listen to when I'm not listening to country? And then I thought I'd just kind of expand that bigger into pop culture. So like movies and TV and books. So I don't expect this video to do well because it's so personal, but I don't know, if you're curious, this is the other stuff I like. First thing we gotta do is cook a bunch of bacon. This is what it looks like, and now it goes in the oven. Okay, so when I am not listening to country music, what is it that I listen to? Well, the main answer and the first answer in my soul band that I've talked about on the channel here before is the Avett Brothers. She's fighting with the sky. She thinks she can. And I think some people would say, Grady, that is country music, but I think it's probably more like just folk rock or something, and their sounds definitely evolved from this kind of like country punk thing that they were doing to this more dad-ish, just sort of straightforward alternative rock. Tell the truth to yourself, and the rest will fall in place. The Avett Brothers are one of the few groups that sings about shame. They sing about growing up. They sing about kind of their changing values. I think becoming fathers and going through divorce and things have really sort of changed them, but they have that rebel spirit in them that I love. So the Avett Brothers are my main answer, and I like bands that are kind of in what once used to be kind of the Americana movement, maybe 8 years ago, when you think of people like Mumford & Sons and the Lumineers. Like, I liked that whole era, and I think people kind of laughed at it and teased it for being twee or precious or suspender snapping, but I liked that stuff. But things that are really not in the country realm that I love tend to be much more kind of angsty, emotional pop. Like, I love 21 Pilots. I've got a migraine, and my pain will range from us. My little sister Kitty turned me on to 21 Pilots before people were really talking about them, and I remember thinking that it seemed super kind of disturbing as an older brother that my little sister liked this music where this guy was talking about how he was suicidal. You think twice about your life, it probably happens at night, right? Fight it, take the pain, ignite it. But Tyler Joseph writes some of the most honest lyrics ever. Like the whole verse in Migraine where he's singing about the islands of violence behind his head and the Pandora's box that's getting opened. Who's writing with that kind of just honesty about their own depravity? I really love the Blurryface album and the self-titled 21 Pilots album. Those are amazing. Probably my favorite ever concert moment is at a 21 Pilots show at the National in Richmond. They were singing the song Screen, and all these like goth kids that have like the gauges and the black hair, and me and my little sister too are just singing like we're broken, we're broken, we're broken people. We're broken, we're broken, we're broken. And just the whole crowd kind of singing this lament together about our own brokenness. Man, I love 21 Pilots. In that same vein, I really, and y'all are gonna think this is crazy if you're a music critic follower, I love AJR. I think AJR is brilliant. I love their just eclectic version of pop music. I think it's funny, whimsical, and again, I think these guys are honest writers. It's these three brothers that are from New York, and I think they're really worried about being disappointments to their parents. And man, they do it freaking honestly. That's just really what I like. I think a lot of emo music, I talked about Scotty Sires' Don't Be Sad earlier this year, Jaden right now, and that song So What. I really like how earnest it is. I really like that it's just this heart getting put out there, and it's so much about our own angst and internal strife. I love AJR. My favorite songs by them, man, No Grass Today has such a crazy breakdown. I really love the song I'm Ready. That's a pump up song. Joe, I really relate to that song, Joe. The World's Smallest Violin is a genius lyric.
I think I bored my therapist while playing him my violin.
I don't get the hate towards AJR. I think their music's inventive, experimental, and cool. I would rather someone take big swings and sometimes miss than just never take any swings. And like I said, pop punk is a huge part of what I listen to. Like when I'm working out, or really when I need to focus. This is weird, but when I need to write, all through college, my playlist, it would be Sum 41, SR 71, Newfound Glory, Good Charlotte, Pink Spiders, Stroke 9, all these bands that have numbers in the title, Blink 182, All American Rejects. That is stuff that I love to blare. It has such energy, but somehow it doesn't get in the way of the thoughts that are up here. So a lot of articles I've written about, like Brandy Clark and stuff, I've had Dirty Little Secret or something playing in my head. But I think I talked about some of these people on that video, the albums that shaped me, where you can like hear about my love of Creed. When it comes to other musical things, I wrote down a few other categories, like my favorite non-country concert, which might be B.O.B.
I could use a dream or a genie or a wish to go back to a place much simpler than this.
It was just like the first week of school when I was starting college, and B.O.B. did this free concert, and I loved hearing Letters from Vietnam. I love that song. My favorite music videos, there's two. I love Virtual Insanity by Jamiroquai. That's one of the first visuals I really remember from a music video. And then the other one is Perfect Situation by Weezer.
Hungry nights, once again, now it's getting unbelievable.
I love that video. That's my overall favorite. I just think it's this fake origin story of how Weezer became Weezer, and Alicia Cuthbert was the lead singer, but she's kind of this diva, alcoholic, and then Rivers Cuomo kind of steps up from being a production assistant and the band becomes Weezer, and I just think it's such a perfect video that elevates the song. And then I just had like my earliest music that I remember liking on my own. This one's hard for me to remember. Like now That's What I Call Music Volume 1 was my first CD ever, that and Backstreet Boys, but the first stuff I loved on my own was like some really basic rap songs. I loved What Would You Do by City High.
What would you do if the sun was at home, crying all alone on the bedroom floor?
I could say every word to that song. I loved the Thong Song by Cisco and Forgot About Dre. Just like random things that were cool at my elementary and middle schools. Then I also had like the Christina Aguilera album. I loved Creed. Those were all like my first things. And then Toby Keith came in and Joe Nichols came in and just rocked my world. And that immediately, Unleashed by Toby Keith. That song Huckleberry. That's when I became like a little country snob. Okay, now that we have talked about music, let's talk about movies. Overall favorite movie, Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire version. That is the whole reason I ever wanted to write about pop culture. It's the whole reason I ever wanted to go work at Entertainment Weekly. It's my favorite superhero movie because it deals so much with identity, with this personal struggle where Peter Parker's not sure he wants to be Spider-Man because being Spider-Man sucks. He lost the girl, he lost the job, he isn't happy in his own life, and he has the option to just be selfish and stop being Spider-Man, and he does it. And he finds that he can't live with himself because he's not living up to his own potential. Man, that resonates with me deeply as a faithful man, just as like a human being that sometimes wants to cower. At the same time, you got Doc Ock, who's wrestling with, can I control myself, or do these like octopus arms control my brain? And they both have to wrestle with, who do I want to be? And it's just fun. The soundtrack's amazing. You get Hold On by Jet.
Vindicated, I am selfish, I am wrong.
You get that crazy like hospital scene. It's like one of my favorite memories ever, seeing that in a theater. My other favorite, and the one that I've seen the most times by far, is Big Fish. The movie Big Fish, I've probably seen like 25 times. I love that this is a story about storytelling, and it's also about a guy learning to embrace his father and see his father as he is. And I think there's something super moving about it. It's like Tim Burton's most human movie to me, and it's still weird, but it's less weird, and I feel like it's really nice. I like a lot of kind of weird, quirkier movies. I think Lars and the Real Girl is incredible. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is one of just the most creative movies ever. I think La La Land deserves all the hype in the world. And then I was a film studies minor. A lot of people don't realize this about me. So I've seen certain movies like Birth of a Nation and Citizen Kane like a million times. And I've read truly insane liberal arts essays about like The Little Mermaid, where Ursula grabbing the trident, the ultimate symbol of male power, and ejaculating that power through lightning all over like the sea. That's like what I studied in college. That's the insanity that I've had to learn how to back away from. But anyway, I've watched a lot of movies, some of which are crazy and some of which are amazing. And one amazing random one is called Now Voyager. It's a Bette Davis movie, and man, I don't ever hear anyone talk about it. I don't expect anyone that's watching this video to go watch that movie. I just think it's a cool story about this sort of spinster hermit lady that finds herself kind of on a cruise and finds herself in an affair and kind of what she does about it. And then, as I talked about in the last video, the Fast and Furious movies, not even a guilty pleasure, just a pleasure. Okay, while the bacon's going for one more minute, I'll just do TV because I feel like this is the part of the video I have the least to say about, but favorite TV show ever, I think has to either be Lost or The Leftovers. In any case, they're both Damon Lindelof shows, so the way that guy thinks about life and storytelling and faith just so resonates with me. Lost just thrilled me. I mean, like the setting of it was so lush and interesting, and I love getting all the backstories. Do I think it was diminishing returns as the show went on? Yeah. I wasn't thrilled by the ending, but I didn't hate the ending the way everyone else did. I thought it was interesting given the way that they had kind of set it up and sort of beautiful. Their own moving on into... well, I won't spoil it. I tend to really like reality shows. I think reality shows are usually more interesting than scripted shows. I like the kind of human moments and the meta aspect where you're seeing people, like, if I say, I think you're a bad person, and I think, like, your first husband never loved you. The thing that makes that interesting on a reality show is not just that I'm saying it to you, I'm saying it on camera. And there's that whole meta aspect of kind of Game of Thrones, how are we playing this? It really reminds me of the Hunger Games. I like a lot of DIY type shows, and that's also the kind of YouTube I watch, is a lot of like people building something or thatching a roof or fixing a pool. Like, I like all that stuff. And then one other scripted show that I love is Parks and Recreation. I think that show has such an optimism that a lot of those single camera comedies are sort of missing, and I wish they had.
What's on the note cards?
They're possible topics of conversation.
Whales, parades, electricity, and the rest are blank.
Yeah, well, I couldn't think of anything else.
Okay, I grabbed some of the books that I wanted to talk about in this section. These are some of my favorite books ever. Overall MVP, Bridge to Terabithia. This is probably the book I've read the most times. It's so simple. It's so short. It's just a story about a boy who's unremarkable and his neighbor, this girl named Leslie that is an outcast, and they have this little make-believe land in the woods called Terabithia. It's not a fantasy book. They just kind of pretend back there. And a tragedy occurs, and you kind of see how he deals with that. And I just think this book's so human, it's so simple, it's like a little country song. And if you are a big brother to a little sister, the tears, that will happen. I also loved Ender's Game. This is probably the most shocked I ever was by the ending of a book. I just think it's so, like, it's a weird mix of childish and brutal and, kind of about, I guess, in some ways, like the dark side of what is in us as people. And this book like freaking predicted the internet. When you read about his siblings blogging, you're like, how did you write this? How did you write this in the 80s about political discourse? Crazy. Speaking of discourse, So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Ronson. This is a book about people that have gotten themselves canceled for one reason or another. Some legitimate, some illegitimate, but it's about the mob mentality that we all take part in, and he never lets you as a reader off the hook of being like, this is how people react. It's like, no, this is how you react too. This is how I react. There's something in us that wants to watch other people at their worst be shamed. And it kind of talks to people about like, how have they dealt with it? or not dealt with it, and it just totally changed my mind about the right way to react to people that are at a low point on the internet. And I'm not someone that wants to heap more shame on people. I'm not. Another nonfiction book I love, Shop Class as Soulcraft. I believe in the UK, this book might be called The Case for Working with Your Hands. But this is about a guy who I really relate to him in some ways. He got this like big degree. He went to grad school and he was editing an academic journal in Chicago. He went to Northwestern and he found himself profoundly depressed and found his life very meaningless and started working on motorcycles and working at an auto shop, a job that he kind of viewed as beneath him. He's like, I'm super educated. Why would I do this blue collar job? And found that there was a lot more value in that work and that he was actually using much more creativity and problem solving and his own intelligence to do manual labor than in kind of this managerial academic thing. And when I quit the media, I know I'm back in media now, but I quit the media for a reason. I was feeling that same turmoil. This book, when I moved down here to Virginia and I was managing a restaurant, and I was like, I'm happier managing a restaurant than I was in the magazine industry. It meant a lot to me. So those are the ones that I have here in front of me, and other ones that I have lent out right now. Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, very famous book. I know some people have issues with it now, but there is no book that created more empathy, horror in my mind about like what slavery was. That's probably the most I've ever cried is some of the scenes in that book. And I think it's ludicrous that some people are saying that it's a problematic book now, just because that book like just gave me a heart in a way I had never really felt before for like how shocking slavery is. I had to read that in a course called The Coming of the Civil War, and I remember just dreading it and being like, I have to finish this in a weekend, and just it rocked my world. And then the other book is Open by Andre Agassi, the tennis player. That book is just really honest, really funny. He talks a lot about his father, who is this Iranian boxer, and just he like kind of hates his father, and the guy trains him so hard, and he resents that he's good at tennis, and he just gets wildly popular and famous so young, and he can't deal with it, and he's having these sort of breakdowns, and just the way that paints the picture of someone getting thrown into fame, who's so talented and just so conflicted inside is second to none. There's a whole part at the end of the book where Andre talks about how he can't stand reporters saying how he's transformed into this like way better person over the course of his career. And he's like, I hate when they use that word transform, because I was just forming. This was my first try too. Like, I've never done the whole life thing, and that is a really I get teary thinking about it, because it's so easy to look at stars and just forget that they're human. That, and there's a scene in Wonder where he says the universe takes care of all its birds, where, man, that is the other page. When I want to cry, I'll just read that page. But I'm not going to cry, because currently I'm reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and yeah, I feel like a little bitch all the time. So anyway, that's the other pop culture that I like that's not country music. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go finish cooking, and man, I don't know, making this video, I feel like myself. I'm excited to be in this house where I just feel comfortable. I'm with my friends. This is me, and I'm like talking into a camera, excited to talk into a camera. I don't know. Let's see where this leads. Bye.